सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. नीलस्य जगतः कर्ता भोक्ता. We saw page 75 last time?
No, we were supposed to see page 75.
Huh?
75 to start.
Supposed to see, okay. All right. Any questions, clarifications on what we have done up to now, or that's all clear? Yeah.
You had mentioned that Mandukya Upanishad 7th verse last time.
What had I mentioned?
You had told about the 7th verse of
Mandukya.
Mandukya.
Nanta Prajnana Bhavish
Nanta
Prajnana.
Pragyana
Yeah.
Vaipradya.
Yeah.
We can't hear the question.
Yeah. What I had mentioned in Mandukya, Nanta Prajnana Bhavish Prajnana Bhayata Prajnana. Yeah.
This I didn't get the connection.
Huh? How does it get connected? It is not getting connected here.
Ah.
Yeah. The connection will come in other places. We will see that then. Yeah.
Swamiji, could you do a recap of the last
Yeah, we'll do that. See, the whole question is, what is this sutra dealing with? Last sutra said, Athato Brahma Jignasa. That we saw as Sadhana Chatushti Anantaram, Sampanna Anantaram, Gurumeva Vigachet, Shotriyam Brahmanishya Samatpani, etc. And Brahma Vicharaha Kartavya. This was the first sutra, the extended meaning of it, one line extension. Then the question will come up, Kim Tad Brahma? What is that Brahman that you are talking about? So this sutra says, Janmadhyasya Yataha Asmat Drishti Gochar Jagataha Jasmat Karana. Okay? Tad Brahman, in short. If we expand it, what will it come? Asya Jagataha. There are 3-4 points which are important. Nama Rupa Vyakritasya, which has lots of Nama Rupas. Okay. Aneka Kartru Bhokta Samyuktasya, which has got lots of Karta and Bhokta. Very often Karta, Bhokta one and the same, but very often not the same also. We saw all that last time. Pratiniyata Desha Kala Nimitta Kriyapala Ashrayasya. The ashraya, the place where you can enjoy the kriya phala, which has been done at specific time, place, etc. And they'll come to your life also at specific time and place. It's not that all the karma phala is coming at the same time. Mar jayega. Even the good karma, all of them come together. You're supposed to have a nice partner in life and supposed to have good kids and grandkids. Imagine it all coming at the same time. You can't enjoy anything. So, prati nihata desha kala namita. Manasa api achintya rupasya. Creation so vast, manasa api anachintya rupasya. One dimension, earth, in the middle. You can't conceive of the whole thing. Then what are you going to conceive about 14 dimensions? No, not possible. Okay. Yeah. Therefore, manasa api achintya rupasya. Janmasthiti bangaha. Janmasthiti bangaha yataha yasmat karanat bhavati. From which cause it happens? That is Brahman. So, Janmadhyasya, this whole para, one line, is talking about the extended form of Janmadhyasya. Okay. And in the process, negating the possibility of Janmasthiti Bhanga from coming from any other source. That also we will clarify. It comes up. Later it's coming up. Okay? Alright. This is the thing that we saw up to now. Then he says, Anyesham api bhava vikarinam trishu eva antarbhavaha iti janma sthiti nashanam iha grahanam. Any other bhava vikara you can think of. Modification, okay, destruction, all that will come under janma sthiti bhanga. It's modified. Modification is birth of a new thing. No? Like an Udupi hotel. Yesterday's idli will become today's fried idli. Modification. New dish is born. Janma. So you can put it as same, he says. All of them, all the other bhava vikara can also be included into janma sthiti bhanga. 3. Okay. Then yaska paripatitanam tu jayati asti ityadyanam grahane tesham jagatah sthiti kale sambhayamanatvat मूल कारण उत्पत्ति स्थिति नाश जगतः न गृहीतः स्युः. All right. I'm stopping at half sentence. Okay. There is a Yaska Niruktam by Yaska. Yaska is a rishi. So there he has said any living being or anything created will go through Jayate, born, Asti, then Vardate, Viprimanate, Apakshiyate, Mriyate. 6 changes. Okay. Something is born. Born is. Then Asti has to go all the way. In fact, it has to be Asti first. Then Jayate. Then Jayate, Asti Chet, Vardate. Vardate. Then Asti Chet, Parinamate. Modifies. Then Asti Chet, Apakshiyate. You will decline. Then because you were Asti, Mriyate. He says this is what a thing will go through. Anything in the creation goes through this. Nobody can avoid it. Okay, nobody, especially living organism, no way you can avoid this. How can you avoid it? Okay. Vardate, after that what? Time will come. अब तो बिल्कुल बूढ़ा हूँ, गोली खाकर जीता हूँ, हो जाएगा that. Everyone has to go there. We are all getting there only. Yeah. All right. He says, इत्यादीनां ग्रहणे. Because he said Jayate Mriyate, why don't it Janmadisya refer to that? He says no, Ityadinam Grahani Tesham Jagatah Sthiti Kale Sambhavayamana. All this will happen only when the Jagat is already there. If the Jagat is there, then something can be born inside the Jagat and then all these things can happen. Therefore he says Sambhayamanatvat Moola Karnat Utpatti Sthita Nashaha Jagatah na Grihitaha. If you take that, then the Moola Karanam for the universe to be born, etc., that is not noticed. You said, okay, Janmadesya Yataha, the Janmadi is taken for Jayate Mriyate, etc. Then what happened to the Moola Karanam? All that you can talk about only after the Jagat is there. We are here discussing the Moola Karanam for the Jagat itself. Therefore, that will be left out, he says. Okay. So, iti ashankyate, tan mashanki, therefore don't have that sound. Iti ya utpattihi brahmanaha karanat tatra eva sthiti pralayascha se eva grishyate. Important point. Says, from which Brahman this whole utpatti has come. That is the same point for maintenance and dissolution. Therefore, Upadana Karanam comes in. Because if we had said Janma Yataha, Yasmat Karanam, it could be Nimitta Karanam. But no, sustenance and dissolution is in the same Karanam. Therefore, Upadanam also comes in. Nimittam comes in anyway because you said Janma. So, Nimittam is taken there. But because Sthiti and Laya is also in the same Karanam, then Upadanam also comes in. Because where will a thing be resolved? Where will the wave go? Into the ocean only. Born, okay. So born from the ocean. But then is it separate entity? No. It's sustained, resolved. That's why earlier he had said, Karanam Srg Rajju, Srg Sarpavat. Srg Sarpavat. Like the garland being mistaken for the snake. He had said that earlier. Therefore, Utpatti, Sthiti and Laya, same Karana. Therefore, naturally, Brahman will be taken as Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karana. With only this Vakya. Okay, other Vakyas are brought in later. But with this Vakya, this much will have to be taken. Yeah, Karthik, you have a question?
Because Swamiji, when one looks at the Jagat, even for the sthiti of the Jagat, just this number of principles at play, it seems like there's a Nimitta Karanam even keeping that going.
Yeah, of course. Nimitta Karanam is always there.
Always.
See, the moment you say Karanam, Nimittam is a given. Na? You can't have a Karanam without Nimittam being there. Because any creation, once you accept it's a creation, presupposes intelligence, presupposes knowledge of creation, presupposes purpose, function of creation. Therefore, an intelligent being is always there. The question is, what is the Upadana? That's why all primitive religions also will talk about Creator. No? Yeah. A primitive religion will talk about Creator. Then the question will come in Upadanam, where it is. There is where everyone goes into a problem. That is why the Upanishad is very clear in saying, Yeto emani bhutani jayante jivanti preti apisham vishanti. All the three. It's making it complete. That Upadanam cannot be separate from the Nimittam. That has to be. Nimittam is easy to postulate. It's a postulation. But Nimittam is easy to postulate. Because you see it in the world, no? Gata is there, Karta has to be there. Nimittam is easy. People miss out on the Upadana.
Spider example is spider example will be fitted.
That is for showing Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karana. Spider example is for showing Abhinnatvam of the Nimitta Upadana.
And consciousness becomes materially itself.
What is it? What is the example meant for? To show the Nimittam and Upadana Karanam is one and the same. The example is limited to that. Why? The example is meant to illustrate a point that is made. Two ways of using an example. The correct way would be you make a point, illustrate that point, that logical point with an example, so that your logic is demonstrable. What very often people do is give an example and draw a logic out of that. That is putting the cart before the horse. Like that, anything can be done. You can say anything. Vedanta is like a knife, dangerous. Don't give it to everyone. So what are you trying to show? That Vedanta is dangerous. How did you draw that? From the example. Because knife is dangerous. I will turn around, the knife is not dangerous. It is a tool in my kitchen. What is dangerous about a knife? I use it to cut vegetables. So there is no point which is made first, which is illustrated by the example. So first you will have to say Vedanta is dangerous. How do you say it's dangerous? Because like a knife you will have to say. Then we will have to say, alright, if you are saying that, how do you show the connection between Vedanta and a knife? What is the connection? Connection hai nahi hai. So, this is the error in giving an example and drawing a logic out of that. You give the logic, illustrate the logic with an example. That's the correct way of doing it. Otherwise, anything can be said. That's an NA. Vedanta is like Rasagulla. Why? You eat a bit of Vedanta, Anandi Anand ho jata. You can say anything. In fact, the second example is better. At least there is a connection, Ananda connection. Yeah.
Now you mentioned that all religions talk about creation.
Yeah.
But as humans, we are able to hold to something which we create.
Yeah.
Then ideally, we should be also saying actually it's a dream and not creation.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Are we saying it is creation because we can hold on to something and observe the creation?
No. We are saying it's a creation to explain away what you experience. See, you experience the world. What is your starting point? Your starting point is your experience of the world.
But I experience dream also.
Hmm?
I experience my dream also.
Your being also.
Yeah.
Then the question
Dream,
is
dream.
your dream also. Correct. That's why in Mandukya all the three are taken.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can take that. But here in Taittiriya, you are limiting it to the waking because that is the issue for you. Yeah.
But
in
also-
Mandukya we can take it.
But also in the waking state, Swamiji, there's a commonality of experience,
Yeah.
no? Which is not just about being
Yeah.
like being
Dream
able
is
to
highly
dance, but
subjective.
everybody,
Yeah. Everybody have a different dream at the same time.
whereas waking has a commonality which is dream.
So here, since we are in the waking, Taittiriya talks about the waking state. But if you are taking a global experience, then Mandukya will talk about the global. Yeah.
But then it's like generalization, right? Creation.
Where?
Because we are experiencing the same thing in waking state,
Hmm.
it is like mass generalization.
Yeah.
Think about it.
In a way, yeah, it's a mass generalization. Because even in the waking world, the same thing is experienced differently.
Differently.
Yeah. So that's why the subjective and the objective is never completely different. They are not watertight compartments. You know, in every objective experience, there is an amount of subjectivity. That is why the student of Vedanta is advised to cultivate vairagya, objectivity. Yeah, otherwise, it doesn't work. Some objectivity has to be there. So, that will always come through.
Swamiji, coming back to this,
Hmm.
even with Janma, you can't have Upadana. Because
Janma alone,
will-
no.
Doesn't
Janma
it
alone,
imply
no.
Upadana?
No, pot and potter.
But then
separate.
that pot is there, no?
Pot is there, but separate
So
from the
that's
potter.
separation.
Yeah.
Achha.
Because yataha meaning yasma. Now, yataha, the term is what? Apadana panchami, no? If you look at it grammatically.
Correct.
From where it has come.
Correct.
There's always separation.
Correct. So,
Gramat
show
agataha.
that there is only a
Yeah.
bin.
Like Krishna being called Nagaraha.
Hmm.
Why? For Meera, she wanted Krishna as Nagaraha. City sophisticated character. Nagaraha Agata, not a country bumpkin. My interpretation, okay. Nagaraha. Now, who is Nagaraha? One who has come from the city. Nagaraha. Not Gopala. Not Gopala. Nagaraha. But I think in Gujarat, Nagara is also a subcaste or something.
No, it is
Nagar Brahman is a Jati. Nagar Brahman.
Nagar Brahman, okay. But that can't be applied to Krishna. He is Kshatriya born. So my explanation correct then. Nagara, Nagara. City sophisticated. Okay.
Swamiji, just recap this, no, once.
Which one? Yeah. So he is saying, now look at it. He says, what are the possibilities? He says, Janmadisyata. He has used Adipada. So, Janma Adi. So, by Adi, you can bring in Yaska's Niruptam also. Because Adi. So, he is saying, no, it has to be this only. Because only after the creation is there can Yaska be applied. Here we are questioning the very creation itself. The cause of the very creation. Mula Karanam we are questioning. So, it has to be Janmadisyata as Janmasthiti Bhangaha, not Asti Vardate Viparinamate, not that one. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now he is making a very nice. Okay. न यथोक्त विशेषणस्य जगतः यथोक्त विशेषणम् ईश्वरं त्वा अन्यतः प्रधानात् अचेतनात् अनुभवो वा अभावात् वा संसारिणो वा उत्पत्त्यादि संभावितुं शक्यम्. Says other than this Ishvara, that we have talked about. He says, Yathokta Visheshanasya Jagata. Okay, what is Yathokta Visheshanam? Namarupabhyam Vyakritasya Aneka Kartra Bhukta Yuktasya Pratiniyata Desha Kala Nimitta Kriyafala Ashrayasya and Manasa api Achintya Rupasya. It is there in your footnotes in the book. That is a Visheshanam for the Jagat. Okay. Yathokta Visheshanam Ishwaram Uttva. Other than the Ishvara that we have talked about. What is that? Abhinna Nimittu Padana Karma. Other than that, he says, Uttva Anyata, from something else. What is that? Pradhana, Sankhya. Presence of Pradhana as the creation. Okay. There the Purusha is Akriya. Akarta, only Bhokta. He enjoys the creation spread out by the Pradhana. You must have been an MCP husband, you invented that theory. Chupchap घर में बैठता है, wife has to do everything. Okay. Must have been some MCP character like that who invented that Sankhya. I'm joking, okay? Kapila Muni is supposed to be a great person. But when you're sitting on this side, you can afford to joke like that. Therefore, he says, okay, it can't be from Pradhana. Why? Because Pradhana by itself, so the theory of creation in Sankhya, in a simple way, is when Pradhana, which has Sattva, Rajas, Tamas in it, when they are in Samya Avastha, all of them having same thing, there is no creation. When that gets disturbed, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas combination gets disturbed, the creation starts. So to the Sankhya, the question that is asked is, what is there to disturb the Samya Avastha? Why? Because a thing at rest or in motion will continue to be in the state of rest or motion unless disturbed by an external force. This was known. All these Newton's laws, etc., was known to the culture. Therefore, he said, what is there to disturb it? Samya Avastha, it should continue in Samya Avastha only. Then Jagadandya Prasanga will come up. There will be no Jagat. So the Sankhya doesn't have an answer. Therefore, there is Saishwara Sankhya. It is very often taken as yoga philosophy. Much later, okay? Sankhya and yoga got connected up much later. Initially, yoga was connected with Vedanta as sadhana to get your mind ready, etc. That's why there are yoga Upanishads. Then somewhere they separated it out and connected it with Sankhya. There's a purpose in it. Because if your mind requires to be taken care of, okay, supposing there are some serious issues in the mind and it requires to be taken care of, then you have to take it very seriously. If you have been exposed to Vedanta, you say, "Sab mithya hai na, why take care of it?" Na? That's why many Vedanta students are not good at sadhana. कुछ करने को बोलेगा नहीं करेगा. So maybe that's why they separated it out, put it with Sankhya, who take the creation as valid and real. Therefore, you will take care of the mind seriously. Then you can come to Vedanta afterwards. Probably, I don't know why. Okay, I'm just speculating. But this, if at all there is a justifiable reason, this is the only possible reason. Because if your mind has to be taken seriously, like I have had students coming to me, psychologically very disturbed. I remember once when I was taking this class at Times Foundation, the Times of India, this set, VT. I asked the person not to attend the classes. Because he was psychologically disturbed, he required therapy twice a week, which is rare. Twice a week, etc. is very rare. Therapist was also a bit of an idiot, that apart. Yeah. Yeah, honestly I'm saying this, I'm saying in the open. Yes. I said don't, because Vedanta will make it haywire for you. You will lose all your moorings and you will find it very difficult. You need to handle that mind. You go take it seriously and handle it. After that you can come back. In fact, I had to confront the therapist also. He says, God came and told me that you should attend your class. How can you now go against it? I said, what did your therapist say? He validated that. I said, get your therapist to speak to me. So the therapist called me up. I said, isn't there a difference between validating a person's feeling and continuing his delusions? Bhagavad didn't know what to say. Because that is continuing delusion. When you say, no, correct, God has spoken to you. What nonsense is that? Yeah. So you feel nice, you feel sacred, you feel, that's what I feel. Or do you feel confused? No, that is validating a feeling. But you're not saying that the whole premise is correct. Within that premise, if you're having a feeling, validate that. That's important. But not the basic premise. That eventually you have to confront only and dismiss. And why I spoke like that? Because 6 months of therapy was over. अभी 6 महीने में ये भी नहीं confront किया basic, so what do you do? What do you do? Good way of making money. Twice a week the guy is coming. Your car का EMI हो जाएगा monthly. Okay, jokes apart. Not that I dismiss all therapists like that, okay? But yeah, I think therapy is important. But if at all there is a division, it is only because of this. Therefore, Saishwara Sankhya. He said, put an Ishvara there. Na? What is Ishvara there? Vishesha Purushaha, special being. What is his job? Kiya Prakriti, chalo abhi time ho gaya. Start creating, abhi time ho gaya, wind down. Yes, Sanchit, you have a question.
Is Pradhana another name for Prakriti?
Yeah.
Or is there some difference?
Prakriti, Maya, similar. Yeah, very similar.
Okay.
So therefore, that is why he says, Samsarinaha va. Because if it's a Vishesha Purusha, he will become a Samsari, na? Special being. But still a finite being. Na? There are many Purushas. This character is the special Purusha. Okay, mighty, alright, fine. But he's still within samsara. He also can't do anything Pradhana has to do. The only kartrutvam he has to is to simplify Pradhana to create. Therefore, he will also come under samsari. Number one. Or anubhyaha. Achetana anubhyaha. Inert atoms. How will they create by itself? Are the atoms going to join together by itself? No, but that we observe in science, na? Really? Without the infrastructure of time and space and the order, the principles, will the atom by itself join? There has to be a principle behind it. Na? That under these conditions only this will join. So who created the conditions and all that thing for joining? There's a joke about this. Scientists created life in the laboratory. Said, now we don't need Ishvara. So God came in front of them. He said, now come on, tell me, how did you manage it? First we took a handful of soil, 100 grams of soil. Get your own soil. Get your own soil. So the infrastructure has to be there for atoms also to those things combine. All the principles has to be there, the laws have to be there. Yeah. So all that is that's why he says Achetanath Anubhyova. Or you will have to say Anus are Chetanam by itself. If you are saying Anus are Chetanam, then not a problem.
Yeah.
Then you are talking closer to Vedanta. Why? Intelligence is the basis of the whole creation anyway. That's why at quantum physics level it looks as though the particle is choosing its way, etc. Because it's not completely achetana. Na ekantena achetana. Why? Brahma ashrayatva. Again Brahma ashraya will come in then. If you are saying no, it's not completely achetana, then Brahma ashraya, you have to come in. Where did the chetanatvam come from? Abhavadva. The Bauddha thing, abhava, it has come from non-existence. From non-existence, what will come? Non-existence alone. That's why in the West, Buddhism is more popular than Hinduism. And it is. Why? First, in Buddhism there is no God. Therefore, the people who are following Christianity, following means they are not many of them are non-practicing Christians, but even then they are following Christianity. They identify themselves as Christians. They don't have to give up their idea of God and adopt another God, number one. Number two, the Bible also says God created the world out of nothing. And Buddhism confirms that from nothingness, nothing has come. Idiot, God was there before or not? वो भूल गया. Even God requires a material because we are living in a material world. So if at all their statement is there and you want to give it passing marks, you will have to say nothing other than himself. And he says nothing means nothing other than himself. You will have to say that. Buddha did not present Shunyavada. In fact, Buddha is respected in the culture. The name Shankara himself uses in the second chapter, you will see in the Bhashya. Shankara uses the word Sugataha. Sushtu Gatam Jnanam Yasya. One whose knowledge is good, beautiful. Tat Agataha. Tat, the reality, Agatam, understood Yena, Tathagataha. These are names we have given Buddha. Okay? They are not Buddhistic names, okay? Sanskrit names. They are not Pali names. Yeah, it's not even in Pali, it's in Sanskrit. Buddha never talked about Shunyavada. All Buddhistic theories of creation came 500 years after Buddha. Okay. Nagarjuna, Ashwagosha, two main writers. Okay. Yeah. So Nagarjuna was the main writer who presented Shunyavada, Abhavam, etc. Why? Because when Buddha was asked about the reality, he kept quiet. Maunam tu sammatam. You keep quiet, you can interpret silence as anything. No? Yeah. Husbands realize it the wrong way. Take some time for them to realize what that silence means. Time लगता है थोड़ा. Then how do sadhus realize it? That's why they became sadhu. Anyway, jokes apart. Okay, jokes apart. That how because Buddha kept silent, could have had various reasons for keeping silent. Maybe he didn't know how to communicate. How do you know he didn't study consistently from one teacher? He went and discussed with many people because nobody wanted to. Probably, nobody wanted to take him as a full-time student. Why? Media circus ho jata tha that time also. Prince Siddhartha going and studying in some ashram. Oh my God, all the people will crowd around that ashram. Just imagine Modi comes and joins an ashram, what happens? Oh my God. Media circus, security, this, that. Nahi banta baba, tu buy to the online attend if you want to. Right? I mean, it's correct. No? Yeah. How will you handle that? You all don't know the hassles when he just came to visit Swamiji before his samadhi. What all have I had to take care of? Oh my God, the security, this, that. Including pointing out to them across Mahesh Yogi's ashram. All those caves nicely hidden, meditation room nicely hidden by the trees. A good sniper there with a sniper rifle, you can pick off anyone from the ashram. So all the security you have to take care of. So Prince Siddhartha was not in any ashram. He went to talk to different people in India. Exactly what Modi is doing now. He's got a lot of people he goes to now. So maybe he didn't know how to communicate. Maybe, we don't know. Or maybe he knew, he thought the people are not ready for it. Therefore he took it. In fact, if you look at the way he presented Buddhism, he is all about getting people ready to understand Vedanta. Eightfold Path, this, that, etc. All that is what? A life of moderation. 6th chapter Gita. Picked up from there. To get you on this. Therefore he didn't say. Therefore the Shunyavada came 500 years after Buddha. Nagarjuna was responsible for that. Therefore, abhavadva, samsarinatvat, or any jiva, any particular jiva in the creation you can't have, no? Including the guy who claims that he will make cows speak Sanskrit. Don't know, there is a guy like that. He has established an independent nation called Kailasa.
Oh, yeah.
I like the audacity of that guy.
Ridiculous.
This
He's
is a
gone and
nation.
signed treaties with other smaller nations.
And writing to the UN and all that thing. The sheer audacity of the guy.
What illusion.
I mean, even someone like our Sadhguru, huge ashram he has got, some hundreds of acres of land. But even he will not have the audacity to declare Republic of Sadhguru. So we all can, in your home you can Republic because nobody can enter your house without a warrant and things like that. So that much you can declare. Okay. Anyway, jokes about samsarinatva utpatyadi sambhavitam shakyam. Janmasthiti bhangaha cannot happen with any of these entities. Nacha swabhavataha, or by itself, by swabhava, natural, steady state universe. In science there was a theory, steady state universe, always there. It's like this. Because if it is by swabhava, what you are talking is, you are the cause for yourself. That means what? The seed will be the cause for the seed, not the fruit or the tree. Because swabhava natural, no? Natural means it all exists by itself. So the seed has to cause another seed, not something else. The tree has to be the cause for the tree. So how will the tree duplicate itself? Not through a seed. Probably when it reaches a certain size and dimension, it has to split into the tree or something like that. We don't see such things happening. So therefore, swabhavataha, naturally by itself, this is also, this time people don't want to use the word Ishvara. It's Mother Nature. Haven't you found champions like that? I have a friend. He's a little bit into Tai Chi and all that thing. So he says, Mother Nature bless you. So I tell him, some stupid systems you are following. You are not even an expert in that. Your guru kicked you out of the class. And now you are saying Mother Nature, Mother Nature. Can't be. Nature by itself does not. Nature also functions under certain laws, etc., isn't it? Which we can study. See, the beauty of it is, with our intelligence, we can study and understand there are certain laws, principles at work.
But how can they say nature? Because then nature will then presuppose a creation anyway.
Exactly. Therefore, swabhavata meaning natural state. It's always there, not created. Then everything in nature will have to be like that. Can you demonstrate something that is naturally there, not coming from another cause? Is there anything within the creation that is not caused by something else? Even soil, this, that, etc., you can explain a cause for the whole thing. There's a process of it happening. Therefore, swabhavata argument is not possible. Why? Vishishta desha kala nimittanam iha upadanat. Vishishta desha kala. You need a particular time, space and upadana for anything to be born. And a material for anything to be born. That cannot be challenged. Okay, that cannot be challenged. Etateva anumanam sansara vyatiriktha ishvara asti itvadi sadhanam manyante ishvara karanavadinam. Therefore, ishvara karanavadinam. That is attacking the Nayayikas. Says that's true. By Anumana we fix up in Ishvara. Okay. That the cause of the world is Ishvara. Okay. Why do you need your Shruti and all for it? Your Shruti is only restating what we have said. Gatasya karta, gatajnaha, apatasya karta, apatajnaha. All that you see, there is a cause. Who knows the... Similarly, Jagatasya Karta, Ishvara, Sarvajna. That argument also can be demolished. Okay? Though we accept a lot of the arguments for understanding sake. Okay? First, you have to establish Jagat as Karyam. Kevala Anumana, how do you accept it as Karyam? Because in Anumana, in inference, and in Tarka, to say something is an effect, you have to have seen it being created. Seen, inferred. Seen or inferred. Then there is a Pragabhava, Pradvamsabhava. How do you see and infer that for the Jagat? You can't say this Jagat, okay, is Karyam, Yatha what? Which Jagat you are talking about? Because when you say Jagat, the whole creation is.
There is no example.
Okay? Okay. How do you say that? Yatha what? You don't have a demonstrable example. Then you will have to say Vetirekena Ghatavat. That also is not possible. Because Vyatireka example, Ghata should not have a cause, but Ghata has a cause. Therefore, neither you have Anvaya nor Vyatireka for it. Because for the Anvaya Vyatireka, you have to establish this is a Karyam, number one. That Karyam argument I have said before also, so that is clear. Since you can't establish the world as a Karyam, it is difficult for you to establish an Ishvara. In fact, it is impossible for you to establish an Ishvara. Once the Shruti talks about Ishvara, then you can use your logic to understand that Ishvara. That's fine. Yeah. You can use any logic to understand Ishvara. That's okay. But understand. That is why there are Srishti Vakyas in the Shruti. The Shruti has to present the creation as a creation, as a manifestation, whatever you want to call it. Because if those Vakyas are not there, what is your pramana to show that this is created? At the most, you can have speculation. Why are we doing all the CERN experiments? Why are we sending probes into the outer edges of the universe? Because somewhere you want to confirm your Big Bang theory, isn't it? It is still only a theory, the most widely accepted theory, but still theory. It's not conclusion. Not conclusion. They only say, okay, if that is true, then this must be there. This is there. Therefore, that must be true. But still, that must be true, not conclusive. So, all these experiments are for what? Find this particle, that particle, that. Because from the Big Bang theory, you have speculated and said these things must be there. Not considering whether these things could have come from somewhere else, or some other causes also. That possibility is not being thought of enough, even in science. Like if Big Bang theory is there, this particle should be there. Can this particle exist because of any other reason other than Big Bang? Yes, you proved that particle exists. It's a particle that exists only in terms of nanoseconds or whatever. Fine. But can it exist because of some other reason? Have you considered that? Or you have taken only because of the Big Bang? Because you want the Big Bang theory to be true, you are looking at it and think this must be because of that. But can you challenge that and say this could be because of some other reason also? Nobody is doing that. You are only trying to show it is because of the Big Bang. That will start only after Big Bang theory said, this is true. Then they'll start challenging it. That's how science develops. Okay. So, it is still speculative, number one. Number two, okay, this you may not heard from me before. How do you establish Sarvajnatva? Ghatasya karta ghatagnaha, correct? Patasya karta patagnaha. When the creator of the pot should know the pot, creator of the cloth should know the cloth. functions, what it is meant for, all that thing. Total knowledge you must have. That knowledge takes place in a mind or without a mind?
In the mind.
In the example with a mind. That means according to your logic, Ishvara must have a mind. But mind is karyam, effect. Therefore, how can Ishvara have a mind to be Sarvajna? Because he still has to create the mind. Are you getting the argument? You can be Sarvajna only if you have a mind. Mind is yet to be created. Therefore, before creation of the world, how did Ishvara have Sarvajnatva? How will you logically postulate Sarvajnatvam for Ishvara? गड़बड़ हो गया क्या नहीं इधर ही? Because mind is a karyam effect. His mind is an effect. It has to be created. Who created? Ishvara. Mind. Therefore, before creation of mind, how did Ishvara become Sarvajna? Because he doesn't have a mind. In fact, how did he think? Let me create karke. How did he think? How did he will? You can only wonder. Hey, दुनिया बनाने वाले कैसा दुनिया बनाया, etc. You can sing. All that is fine. अच्छा. Yes, Anchal. You have a question.
In this question, are we assuming that Ishvara's mind is also a karya?
Yeah, because that's what the example shows. Because you are drawing the logic from an example. Gatasya karta gataknyaha. So the gataknyaha has a mind. Therefore, Ishvara also must have a mind. Hiranyagarbha is Vedanta, is not Anumanam. Therefore, the Upanishad is a pramana. The Upanishad says Ishvara Sarvajnaha, then postulates by Maya Shakti he knows everything, even without a mind he knows everything. Then from Maya Shakti the mind manifested, that is called Hiranyagarbha. All that is Shastra is a pramanam for that, not Anumanam. Here what we are doing, the Anumana Satya Ishvara is being dismissed. The Ishvara that is being established by Anumanam is what is being dismissed. Therefore, according to Anumanam, your Ishvara cannot be Sarvajna. But that Anumana can be used by a student of Vedanta to understand how Ishvara is Sarvajna. The Shruti has already said Ishvara is Sarvajna. How can? Because then you give an example. Barabar. Okay. Yeah, Prashant, you have a question.
Swami, I have a question because we say Hiranyagarbha is also Sarvajna in some places, and then we say Maya Upadhi through that Ishvara is Sarvajna.
Yeah.
But Hiranyagarbha, if you are saying it is created.
Hiranyagarbha is next step. From Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha manifests.
So, okay. Then Hiranyagarbha is also Sarvajna. Is that a mind?
Yeah, is the Ishvara's mind is called Hiranyagarbha. Correct. So the cosmic mind is a manifestation from Maya Shakti. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. So that way.
So Sarvajnatvam then with and without mind. Is that
Yeah,
how
Sarvajnatvam for Ishvara in Vedanta is with Maya Upadhi. If it has to be through the mind, you will have to know one vritti at a time. No? Through the mind, you will have to know one vritti at a time. Now Ishvara is looking at you, he knows what you are doing. He is not looking at me, I can get away with it. Then he has to look at one vritti at a time. Gadbad ho jayega. So he won't have Sarvajnatva. Therefore, Maya Upadhi, Yugapath he gets Sarvajnatva. Remember I have explained this also by that example. I am in Rishikesh standing in the river. So what comes is the future, what has gone behind is the past. The water that is going to come to me from Gomukh is the future. The water that is flowing behind me to Haridwar is the past. But if I am in a satellite up there, seeing Gangotri, Rishikesh and Gangasagar at the same time, then Yugapath I have the knowledge of past, present, future. That is Ishvara's mind. That is Ishvara. through Maya Shakti at one stroke. Everything is known. Therefore, all that is from the Shastra. You can't establish this by only Anumana.
No.
Once the Shastra says, you can use all Anumanam arguments to understand what is being said by the Shastra. That much is perfectly fine. So, neither Ishwaratva, okay, as Karta, you can establish by Anumanam because Karya is not established. Nor Sarvajñatvam can be established because mind has to be necessary. So, both the arguments, Ishvara as Karta, Srishti Karta, and Sarvajñaha, both go. The Sarvajña argument I am giving later, not before, because it's a little bit more complex. So, thoda, I held it in reserve. I said, this much is enough to dismiss Ishvara. Meaning, Anumana Siddha Ishvara. Not Ishvara.
Not Ishvara.
Anumana Siddha Ishvara. Yeah. Ishvara established by Kevala Anumana. That is dismissed by this. Okay. That's why.
Swami.
Yeah? Yeah, Karthik. Who's speaking?
Prashant here, Swamiji.
Okay,
One
Prashant,
question.
tell me. Yeah.
So you said that for something to be established as a product, then we need to have Pragabhava and Pradvamsabhava.
Yeah.
In terms of Jagat being a product as revealed by the Shruti, is that because of the Shruti mentions Srishti as well as
Yeah.
Layam? That is
Yeah, because Ishvara has seen both.
Pragabhava.
Yeah. Because Ishvara has seen both. And that's why those Shruti Vakyas are there. So akamayat bhausyam prajayeti. He thought, let me manifest as the many. Those Shruti Vakyas are meant to show the Pragabhava of the creation. The Shruti Vakya is there to show Pragabhava. Hey, dekha? Yeah. Pragabhava, those all that. Yeah. Pralaya it talks about, all that it talks about. See, you can take it as just stories. Because doesn't matter. But when you are going, it is necessary to establish Ishvara. Not just stories. In the beginning, okay, take it as story, fine, doesn't matter. But later on you find that it is necessary to establish Ishvara, Sarvajñaha, Sarvakarta, etc. No? Because you have to establish Karyatva. Now, yes, it talks about a certain model of Srishti, which can be changed. So, 5-element model. Element we are using because for want of another. 5 Bhuta model. If I say 5 Bhuta model, people understand, ye Bhoot kidhar se aaya? Pancha Bhuta model. Okay. So, Bhoot are loosely translated as elements. So, that can be replaced. One model can be replaced by another model, that is okay, that doesn't matter. You want the Big Bang theory, take the Big Bang theory. It's all theory anyway, so it's okay. Or when we talk about creation, we talk about creation different from any other religion. All religions talk about creation. Okay? But they talk about grand plan, Ishvara's plan, you have no choice except to surrender and accept it. Here we are talking about a matrix of creation where what you do influences the whole thing. Okay? In the grand plan, if you are suffering, it is because of God's punishment. God is punishing you for doing something wrong. It's like an abused child blaming himself for whatever happens to him. Parents are abusive, but I blame myself. I deserved it, that's why my parents are punishing me. This happens with all abused children. Until they grow up and start rebelling, and then they create big problem for the parents. Because what happened was 30 years ago, the parent is not the same now. The child felt abused. But parents are not abusive. But you whacked me. So even I got whacked. I didn't think it's abuse. In fact, I would choose whacking over other punishments. When I was in school, we had choose whacking or detention or imposition. Whacking. In 3 minutes, I just go wash my hands, pain is gone, everything, I am free. Detention for 1 hour, who's going to sit inside there? Imposition, writing, oh my God, okay. The pagalpana. So, when other religions talk about creation, they take it like this, which is not how we look at it. We are talking of Ishvara creating so that you can have karma phalan, niyata, desha, kala, all that thing. It is not an abstract thing. God doing what He wants. It's not yateshta charanam by Ishvara. No. He's providing an infrastructure for karma phala to work out. For the order to work out, for this thing to work out.
Swamiji, when we say Jagat is cyclic, no?
That's the cyclic nature of creation. That's okay.
Another.
We are talking of one cycle now. Any given cycle we are talking about. And the cyclic nature of creation we are talking about because it is from Maya Shakti, Avidya. And we are talking of cyclic nature of creation to establish Janma Sthiti Bhanga. That's also important. So all this comes into the picture. So next time you read the Shruti, don't take, I say Shruti is saying this thing. No, there's a reason for it saying. It may not be exactly the same way, but the reason for saying that. No, all that is not written there. Yeah, I know.
No, and then at various stages, you have to understand things very differently.
Very differently, agree.
You have to keep shifting that.
Because this Janmasthiti Laya, also we have been hearing this right from the start.
Yeah.
But the way you understand it at various stages is
Correct.
very
It's like when you went to school, you're taught of rain. How did you learn? Convection current, and when by the time you finish school geography, what is it? It's all about thermal bars, isobars, all that. So the level of understanding, basically it is same. Water gone up, come out. Basic is same, but the depth of understanding in thermal bars and isobars and whole thing different, trade winds, whole thing changes.
Swamiji, how these stages are used as, that Chandra Shakha,
Yeah.
actually you can make out.
Yeah, there are stages in understanding is graded. Supposing when you all first joined the class, I'll start with Brahma Sutras, क्या होता था? पागल बन जाता था.
अभी भी कुछ कम नहीं है. I said अभी भी कुछ कम नहीं है. Samjay, I have one question.
Yeah.
The whole Swabhava, no, I'm not very clear because Swabhava would mean then cause and effect is one.
Yeah.
But which is Ishvara then?
No, there is no, without Ishvara think of it.
So they're saying keep Ishvara aside and look
Yeah, then
okay,
Swabhava.
okay.
That's right.
So
Yeah, Karthik.
also means that there cannot be any modification, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. There is no modification, there is no progress happening. Yeah, Karthik.
Swamiji, with reference to Sarvajñatvam,
Yeah.
for Hiranyagarbha, the Sarvajñatvam will be for this Srishti. But
Yeah.
for Ishvara, it will be all Srishti.
All
That
Srishti.
would be all
Yeah,
Srishti.
you can do it that way also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Swamiji, can I say something?
Yeah.
So that means, in other words, Anubhava cannot establish Ishvara. That the Pramana will do.
Yeah.
When the Pramana establishes Ishvara, then every other example can enhance your understanding of Ishvara.
Yes. All other examples can, all other logic that's given, only to understand Ishvara they can be used. Not to establish. They are called Shastra Anukula Tarka.
Yes,
Tarka in
yes.
keeping with the Shastra. To understand. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Good place to stop. Next class we can go further. Okay. Om Tat Sat.